Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Ronan Nazarene Talks. I'm one of your hosts, Solitary Ronan from Solitary Ronan Films.
And I'm the other one, Nazarene Prod. Hello!
And we're here for another Deathmatch, and we're joined by Optimus Dalton, or the Vulgarian Troglodyte.
Teddy Bardet, although today we are going to talk about Goodfellas.
Yep. Yes, and I think you should change, next time you're bored, right? I think you should change your name to Semio the Mad Bastard.
Yeah.
When you're bored, just change it to that and you'll get lots of views.
So the last episode was an underrated films Deathmatch, so it made sense to do an overrated films Deathmatch. Certainly for myself, these are films that I have in the collection and will keep in the collection. So this isn't films that you hate. This is films that you just think are overrated and get too much love.
Yes. Yeah, I don't hate any of the ones I'm choosing, but it's like but looking through the choices is like, yeah, I see why people dislike this one or dislike that one. You can see just by the choice everyone's made. The choices are up on the description, so you actually can see what we've actually chosen if you want to see for the actual nominations for different things. We've learned from our mistakes.
Yeah, so it's not really our fault that these films are here. It's everybody else's fault that these films are on the list.
Yeah, because they overrate certain films and they make us bad. But also the thing is, it's not our fault that we think other people's choices are wrong. Like certain choices made by other people in this group, which are obviously completely wrong.
Well, wrong is a strong word.
We live in a very decadent culture. I always say on my channel that it's hard to live life when you have to navigate through the oceans of mass morality. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're going to start with the final nomination slot because there's 15 each. There's 5 choices each, and there has to be 16 slots. So we all get to choose an extra one, and we argue out what gets the extra slot. So we've all nominated one, and so I'll go first with mine. Then we'll go to Ronan, and then we'll go to Vulgar Trog. I'm trying to make that thing, by the way. I'm trying to get you on Twitter or X. What's that Vulgar Trog been up to this week? Right, so I'll start with Spartacus, which is basically I'm a massive Kubrick fan, but this one is like the Kubrick Director for Hire movie, but it's still praised very highly, probably higher than the director himself would praise it because he was known for not particularly liking this film, and it has some really good things in it. The training sequences are wonderful. The battle design is terrific. The way it's put together is terrific. But it does have a script that's maybe not as great as it could be, is the best way to put it. It's got like very obvious bits of dialogue. And I just think it's definitely well below the other Kubrick films. And to me, it's kind of overrated. It's nothing great. But it did get Kubrick the freedom to do his own things. That was a good thing about it. But it's just like, I don't think it's particularly a great film. But the funny thing is, when you read the biography, there's a funny story I'll have to say is that Kubrick was so annoyed with Kirk Douglas at the end of the film, when the Spartacus being, crucified. Kirk Douglas was annoying him so much that he cut all of Kirk Douglas's close-ups out during one thing just to annoy him. He knew he had to put them back in, but he just did it just to be a dick to Kirk Douglas, which I always thought was a redeeming part of that film. Like one story of the director being a dick to his actor and producer.
What you're going to say, he really nailed him to the cross.
Oh, yes. So, yes,
authenticity.
Yeah. I don't know what other people's view of Spartacus is, but that's my nomination for the last reigning slot.
We'll maybe get to that once we've discussed the 3.
Yep.
Am I talking about the Malick film?
Yeah, Badlands.
Yeah. So Badlands, again, don't get me wrong, still a very good film, but I just think it's somewhat overrated. I mean, I do like it more than I used to about 20 years ago. But I just think it's it's not as deep or as interesting as I think it's made out to be. It's fairly bare bones, and he made far more interesting films after this. But obviously, as a debut, it's still very good. And as I say, none of these films I'm going to get like rid of or anything like that. Yeah, I just think it gets talked about a bit too much compared to these other ones.
Yeah, and I say burn in the stake straight away, but there we go. I'll try and be nice.
That's fair enough.
Right. So, Optimus, on you go.
Yeah. So this is a very controversial choice, but it's The Seventh Seal by Ingmar Bergman. And again, I'm a huge Bergman fan. He's one of my top 5 directors, but I've never seen why this is like one of the highest rated Bergmans. Although I think it's partly because I think I had the wrong expectations when I watched it, because I thought the whole film would be just Max von Sydow playing chess against death. And that sounded to me like a way cooler film than what this ended up being. But still a very, very good film. But if you watch this back to back with Persona or Cries and Whispers or films that I truly love, I think it doesn't look like a very great film when you compare it to the best of Bergman. But yeah, still a great movie.
Yes. So that's our choices for the final slot. I think we can all see that these are not bad films. These are just films we just don't think are that great. I mean, I don't think Seventh Seal was one of Bergman's best films, but I still really enjoyed it. I enjoy it more as I got older, actually, because when I was younger, I thought the same. Is like, it's really overrated. Now it's like, I still like a lot of the other stories now. I really like a lot of those stories, but at the time, I was like, you get back to the chess and the death thing, get back to iconic moments of the publicity, and it was like, it's not really that film. It's other stuff like the plague and affecting people. So, but I do enjoy that film quite a bit. But yeah, I don't think it's as good as some of the other films, and it's compared to something like Shame. It's fairly nice about human nature and war compared to other Bergman films.
I mean, I think very much like Rashomon and Seven Samurai, it's probably a gateway film for lots of people. And again, it's one of those films that always appears on kind of mainstream greatest films of all time when they only put on like 3 foreign films. So I think it's kind of went through the overrated, underrated, and then it's still very good. As far as Spartacus, I didn't think Spartacus was actually rated that highly by anybody, because everybody knows it's not really a Kubrick film, essentially. So I would discount Spartacus personally from the debate.
Yeah, well, that would be your choice, not mine.
Yeah, of course.
Well, yeah. I mean, actually, I think Spartacus is higher rated than you're saying, because people always look at it as one of the great of that era for that kind of film, even though it doesn't hold a candle to El Cid, which is a much better film, and it doesn't, and it's because it's the one religious epic without Christ in it. I think it's one of those films that's watched a lot, and a lot of people say, what one of those 50s epics, Spartacus is one of those iconic ones. I think it is to our group, yeah, it's lower rated because we know what it was. But for the general public, I think it is still pretty highly rated. And honestly, it's because it's better known than El Cid is my big bugbear, because El Cid's so much better.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose maybe the general viewing audience doesn't really know it was Anthony Mann initially.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think Badlands is a great movie, although I haven't seen it in a long time. And Spartacus, to me, is like a pretty good movie. And I would also say that I think it's overrated by the general public, but not by cinephiles that much. And with Spartacus, I think that I kind of have a soft spot for the softcore porn version, the TV show that came out in the 2010s. So I prefer that to the film, so that kind of makes me dislike the film, because the TV show is so great in all of its stupidity.
Yeah, I'm a massive Badlands fan. I mean, I just have no
Yeah.
idea what you want about with that one. It's like, yeah, I mean, it isn't as good as some of the later Malik films because I've just a quick plug. I've done all the Malik films on my channel. You can go and watch all of them. No matter what Malik film you wanted to see a video on, I've done it. Even his VR one. Just a little plug there. But yeah, Badland is wonderful and it's quite short and I think it's quite beautiful. I think it's because it's simpler than some of the other Malik films. He's not going into philosophy as much. But I still think it's beautiful. I was like,
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's underrated. I think it's pretty underrated because people have forgotten about it a little bit apart from Cineas. I think it's like one of those films that should. I would go with underrated thing now, but that's just me.
I mean, I still give it 4 out of 5, so it's not.
Yeah.
Again, these are not films that we hate. So.
Yep.
Well, do you want to go controversial and put Seven Seal in then?
That's what I think. I think it's a more fun one to go for because it is Bergman and it is kind of. I think that's the best. That's the one of the 3 choices. It's much closer to the idea as Overrated. It's a good film, but compared to the other ones, it's not as good. I think that's the kind of perfect Overrated film.
As I say, for the mainstream, it's probably the Bergman film that gets quoted all the time and gets put into lists.
Yep. So we're all good for the Bergman film to be in the final slot.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, the thing was, if it wasn't the minor slot one, I'd have gone for Clockwork Orange. But I thought no, it's a minor one. Don't go for the big gun straight away. Right. So now we've got everything sort of set up. Now, do you want to go in a random order? I'll just choose things at random, and then we can. So if you're
You're
looking
in
at the
control.
list, right? Yeah. I just think it'd be more fun that way for us to. So we'll go first. Everything, everywhere at once versus Shawshank Redemption. So that's you two.
So should I start? Yes.
And the good thing, I want to hear these because I agree both of them are overrated. So let's see who is the best choice for why someone's the most overrated.
Yeah, I think both of them are overrated too, but I chose Everything Everywhere all at once. And this is actually one of these films that I do kind of dislike. Because to me, it felt like a 2.5-hour TikTok video. It's just so fast-paced and constantly cuts, and it's just so intense. And everybody, maybe not everybody, but many people loved it, and it got lots of award hype. But to me, it's just like if Steven Spielberg made a 2.5-hour TikTok video, it has that type of Spielbergian sentimentality, and it has that kind of low attention span thing that modern viewers are used to, and it's not a very deep film either, and does so many things at once, kind of like the title success, that it's just too much. But I think it still has some good elements to it, like the editing, even though I don't like that kind of quick editing that much, but it does that very cleverly and in a very interesting way. And then also I think the performances are pretty good. But I was so disappointed when I was watching this film because I kind of like the beginning when it's a bit calmer, but then when it gets so intense, I actually got very bored, which is not a good sign when you have a film where there's constantly something happening, so many intense scenes, but I was still bored out of my mind. So that's a kind of sign that the film isn't very good to me. But again, it's still like an okay film, but I don't get the hype for it.
I mean, I haven't seen it, so I can't actually comment. I mean, the Shawshank Redemption, again, I have it, but I don't actually have it in a case. I've put it away, so that's why I don't actually have to bring it out. That's how far it's fallen. You know, that's how far it's fallen. I used to give it 5 out of 5 when, 25 years ago. Now it's fallen to a 4. So it's still a good film, but it's not that I troll top film lists or anything, but for a long time, as far as the greatest 100 films, American films made, it's like in the top 5 constantly. and it's just doesn't deserve to be in the top 5. Yes, it's obviously a film, but there's so many kind of scenes that are just almost ridiculous. And again,
it's obviously a film. So
it's
that's
obviously
a
a
great
film.
description.
It's one of its strong points is the fact it's a film. But it's just the fact that I think for men, it's one of those few films that you can be emotional about because it's about men being friends with men without any hint of homosexuality.
They're in prison.
It's a chance. It's a chance for
it's in denial.
Men to cry. Yeah, it's a chance for men to cry together because of made friends with other men. I do like the ending as far as, they don't meet. They obviously meet, but we don't get like close-ups, and then, because men would just not be able to cope. They'd be weeping even stronger in the cinema. I just think it's a good film, but it's so overhyped that the fact it's generally in the top 10 of the greatest films ever made, especially American only, but it's still like highly rated as the greatest films of all time. Obviously not in Sight and Sound, that would be ridiculous. But it's just, it's just kind of grown in stature as this classic that it's probably really not.
Yeah, but it's obviously usually that it's rated highly by the general public, but the critics don't really care about it that much. Obviously, because critics might be a bit smarter than your average show. Like people like me.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's not a very good film. I think it's kind of a Spielbergian type of surface level sentimental garbage. And I always say on my channel that I would love the film if the two main characters had sex on the beach in the end, but they don't. So,
yeah, they cut away before the snogging started.
Yeah,
basically. I actually read the novella it was based on like a year or two before the film came out, and the novella is much better. And I was looking forward to the film, and I saw it, and I was like, "This goes on forever." And it's so sentimental. I actually just bought it on iTunes about 6 months ago just to rewatch what I remember. I still haven't watched it, but the thing is, there's always one of those films that bugged me. Shawshank Redemption always bugged me. It was always like, "Oh, this is an amazing film." And it's like, no, it's not. Give me Animal Factory any day of the week. That's a real male love story with implied rapes and everything else. And also just how you get out of the prison just seems so stupid. So no, I'm definitely overrated one with this one because it's Shawshank Redemption bugs me. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, I wish I'd thought of that one. But
I don't think the score helps because it's a very kind of obvious score and it hits all the kind of beats at the points where you're supposed to be sad.
Yeah. I also think Everywhere Almost at Once is also an annoying film because our Vulgar Trog has shown up, talked about a lot of the problems as it's so hyper and it's so annoyingly hyper. And there's not many ideas in there. It's just, it keeps going fast and it's like, okay, we're doing this. And then we're doing, the midsection's very Matrixy. It's like, they've seen the Matrix too many times. It's like, no one pointed out that so many scenes are sort of from the Matrix. And also the fact that the daughter character is basically a war criminal. She's a total psycho and it's like, oh, we're meant to forgive her or something because she didn't go on with her mum and she was gay. And it's like, huh? And it was like, it just seems so stupid. And it's like, how is this how is her behavior forgivable in any possible way? And they don't really pay it off. They just go sentimental with it to say, oh, please don't think about it, even though it's kind of pretty crappy. So, both these films annoy me, but Shawshank annoys me more.
Yeah, but is it about annoying or is it overrated? It's not about what annoys you the most.
Yeah. I think in general, the one that our Vulgar Trog shows has not reached the level of overrated that Shawshank Redemption has. I think both of them are Oscar nominees, both of them won some minor Oscars, and both of them are getting praised to high heaven. But Shawshank's been around for 25 years of overpraise. Well, I think we ain't there yet with the other one, but we'll get there.
As I said, I haven't seen the other one, but it kind of feels a bit like Crouching Dragon, Hidden Monkey, in the sense that people just hadn't seen something like that, so they kind of went overboard with it. But I'm sure in 25 years, everybody will have forgotten about it anyway. Whereas, as you say, they're still talking about Shawshank as one of the greatest films ever made.
Well, Crouching Tiger was a much better film than Everywhere Always at Once, I think. It's actually got a plot.
Yeah, but it's just as far as people hadn't seen that kind of thing in the mainstream.
Yeah. The thing is, with that one, people who had seen those kind of films still liked it because it was well made. I think this one is like, it's kind of... It's like they were really recovered. Oh, it's a multiverse. They did the multiverse right. No, they didn't. But...
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be forgotten about in 10 years.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the Shawshank Redemption is that the whole year of 1994 is very overrated in the cinema history. Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction. I mean, Three Colors Red is the masterpiece from that. Yeah.
Yes. I still like Pulp Fiction. It's still a good film, but it's not like Three Colors Red good. But yes, there's some overrated stuff in there.
That could have made the list, but I wanted to avoid Tarantino. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. So we have to choose now. We have to choose our.
Yeah, I'll go for Ronin's choice too, because I wanted to kind of pick it for my list as well, but I didn't in the end.
Yeah, I think that's a dominant Shawshank win.
Yeah, I think Shawshank is one of our early favourites for Contempt.
We'll come back in 20 years and see if anybody talks about Everywhere all at once.
Yep. So
put a date in your calendar.
I'm trying to choose one where it's me and someone else so that it's a bit fairer. I've just realised something. SGS has to argue with himself at one point.
Yeah, funny came first the 7th season.
So that'll be fun. All right, we'll go Hacksaw Ridge versus Superman the movie. But basically, I refuse to watch Hacksaw Ridge for this video because to hell with that, I'm not doing. Yeah, I'm not watching that shit. I've seen the Passion of the Christ. I've seen the Braveheart, and that's enough masochistic, crazy shit for me for one lifetime.
I know how highly it's rated though, but
yeah. So, do you want me to do Superman first and give our Trog a rest?
Yeah.
All right. So, Superman the movie can count for the genre itself, the superhero overrated thing where it's basically vigilante movies with fantasy and we're meant to take it seriously. Now, I enjoy a lot of those films. I like them in a stupid movie way, the same way as I like Godzilla films. Doesn't mean I think they should win Oscars. I just think they're fun, but they shouldn't be rated as the greatest films ever made. And Superman the movie is the prime example of one of this, is where basically it's a well-made film. First half is way better than the second half. Because the second half is kind of stupid in lots of ways. And because, it's well cast for the lead character, and it's well done and it's iconic score, it's like everything else is forgiven for it. And it's like, this is an enjoyable film, but it's not a great film. And it's like, and it's been revered for decades. This is the way to make this kind of film. And it's like, no, it's not. It's well made, but that's it. There's other ways to do it. And I think a film with so many flaws in the second half should not be viewed as the perfect example of how to make a certain kind of film. It just feels like it's very overrated. No one's actually looking at what the issue is. And especially since Superman 2 is a better film as well. There's a better sequel to this film, and it's like, this one just gets beloved, and it's also this thing of Richard Donner is a genius of Superman. He's just a hack who got lucky, and he had to. I mean, even Richard Lester came in and bailed him out in the first one and figured out the ending for him, and was there to keep peace between him and the producers. Then had to take over the second one, and it's like it was no never. People ignore the fact that a better director, had to babysit this director through the film, which also bugs me. But generally, it's like the genre is delightfully silly, and why we take it so bloody seriously all the time. And why can't it just be silly and be done with that? So that's why it's overrated, because it's like, why can't this genre just be silly? Why do we have to take this? Why do we have to take these idiots who think that because they loved someone as a childhood that we should take these seriously as films? I don't get it. And I love this kind of film, but it's like, I don't want to take it seriously. You know? So that's why Superman's on my list.
Yeah, so Superman is actually the only film out of all of our choices that I haven't seen. So,
all right.
Yeah. But anyway, so my choice was Hacksaw Ridge. I obviously knew that I had to pick one American war film, and my list could have been only American war films, as almost all of them are overrated. So, yeah. But this is by Mel Gibson, so obviously who is a very good director. And actually, funny story, I got my new YouTube channel name, Bulgarian Troglodyte. I came up with it due to a conversation about Mel Gibson when my friend said that Mel Gibson is a troglodyte director. So then I got obsessed about the troglodyte word, and then it ended up becoming my channel name. So, but anyway, I think I've mentioned
I thought
this.
it'd been Bulgarian. I thought when you said your name came from that, I thought obviously Bulgarian. Oh no, it's a little bit too.
But yeah, I think I've mentioned this many times in Ronnie Nazarene for some reason. But yeah, this is a pretty good film, and I actually loved it when it came out. But I was, again, 8 years younger, so that was kind of the last year I was still a kind of stupid film goer. It was before I became a intelligent cinephile.
Oh, good. Nice try. Nice
Humble
try.
too.
Like, no, humble brag. And we believe you, honest.
Yeah. And I like the premise that it's about a guy who didn't want to touch weapons and wanted to actually save people. But then this film gives you a very contradictory message when it has these big action scenes, and many of them are like very goofy, and they just go for like cheap action thrills and stuff like that, even though it's supposed to be about humanism and saving people and pacifism and things like that. And then it has that typical American sentimentality and emotional manipulation when you have these characters making like this. They have this stupid dialogue and big score that manipulates you into crying. But if you are actually kind of a serious film,
did you cry?
Almost when I was a teenager, because like I said, I was really brain dead back then. But
you brought it up. I had to ask.
Yeah, now I just laugh when I see stuff like that. So because it's actually very laughable when you look at that stuff critically. And this has actors like Sam Worthington and Vince Vaughn, and they give like serious performances, even though they aren't very serious actors. And Andrew Garfield, as the main character, is pretty laughable as well. And his father, played by Hugo Weaving, is this kind of, again, World War I veteran with like PTSD, and he gives like a very over the top, extremely laughable performance. But yeah, it has some good ideas, but it's executed in that Hollywood way that it doesn't make you think, but it just makes you emotional in a very cheap way. So, but yeah, visually it's okay. But yeah, a pretty stupid movie overall.
Does he ever touch a gun in the film?
What?
Does he ever touch a gun? Sorry.
Yeah, I think he touches a gun, but doesn't use a gun. So yeah, I don't remember. Yeah.
Is there any puppies draped in the American flag?
No, but there are American flags, and yeah, it's definitely very pro-America. Obviously, I mean, Mel Gibson is a piece of shit in real life too. So,
yeah. It'd be funny if it became pro-Japanese halfway through the film, just to confuse people.
I mean, there's a scene when Andrew Garfield also saves a Japanese soldier, so it kind of has a little bit of that.
Oh God, that's usually. Oh, when they're not all bad. I was like, yeah, okay. You just try to say, oh, we're not racist.
Yeah, I know how. I haven't seen it, but I know how highly it's thought of, because I'm sure that kind of gets in everybody's top 10 war films of all time. And you do see people reacting to it, and they're in tears. So.
Yes. Yeah. What's the thin red line? Be decent people.
Or maybe rather watch war films from other countries.
Yes.
Human Condition, for example.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's when you've seen really good war films from countries who have suffered through war, like occupation things, and then you see the kind of sentimental ones, you're like, nah, I'm not buying this.
Yeah, war's terrible, but let's have lots of exciting action scenes and slow motion shots of our guns.
Yep. So, what's people's opinions then?
Well, that's certainly Superman 2 is better. But I think I would maybe go for Superman just for your argument of it perhaps started the whole idea that these films are, serious and worthy and should be in Oscar consideration. And you have to take them very seriously, and people do take them very seriously. All you have to do is see reactions to Endgame, and you'll have people all in tears over Endgame. It's like, what are you talking about? So perhaps not the film itself, but if it started that whole thing, then it's certainly worthy to go to the next level.
Yeah, but Hacksaw Ridge is an American war film, though. So, like the most toxic type of film there is. So.
Yeah, no, I think superhero films are getting up there. Come on. You ever seen Wakanda Forever? That's toxic as hell. It's like, it's bad.
Well, maybe I would go for Hacksaw Ridge then, even though I haven't seen it, because its message, even though it's supposed to be about peace and being pacifists, but obviously it's not.
But I'm good either way. I just wanted to rant about Superman for a little bit.
Just wanted to get that off your chest.
Yeah. So I don't mind going Hacksaw Ridge in this one.
Yeah, let's go for Hacksaw Ridge then.
Right.
Yeah, I know how highly it's rated. So.
Yep. It's, for Mel Gibson bash, I'm quite happy to go with that one. Okay, now we're going for the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari versus The Shining. So you're The Shining, aren't you, Ronan?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting pairing.
I'll try to pair them up in good ways. I'll let you go first for this one.
Well, again, I do not dislike The Shining. Perhaps I've overwatched it since I've probably been watching it for
since you're a small child.
30, yeah, almost 30, probably almost 40 years. Obviously, I don't like Jack Nicholson as much as I used to. I think his performance now is a bit much. Obviously, I think Christopher Walken would have been far better, but that's another story. I just think, again, this is more about everybody else because this is often with The Exorcist, which again I think's way overrated, but I don't have a copy of it, so that's why it was on the list. This is often voted as the greatest horror film ever made, and to me, it's not a horror film. It's more of a psychological drama. It's not a horror film in any way, really.
There are ghosts in it. It's a horror film.
Yeah, but ghosts aren't horror.
It's a dark comedy.
Yeah. So again, this isn't bashing the film because again, I do enjoy it. It's excellent. Do I have to watch it ever again in my life? Possibly not.
You will.
But I probably will. But
yeah,
I think it gets to the point, and as we know, sometimes Kubrick fans, not naming names, can go on a bit about Kubrick as if he invented everything.
He did.
Again, it's a great film and I enjoy it every time I watch it. But I just think it's just talked about way too much. And as you would say, Barry Lyndon should be talked about more. Some of his other films should be talked about more. Eyes Wide Shut. But The Shining's always kind of, obviously with 2001, which isn't overrated. But The Shining as being like the greatest horror film ever made, I think that's a bit too much.
All right. So I'll go for Dr. Caligari. See, this is the one film I'm a massive fan of German expressionism, but this is the one film that bugs me, and it's the because I think it's the most obvious one, and I don't think it's as subtle and as interesting as like Faust or Nosferatu or something like that, where there's more going on, or even things like Waxworks, which were lesser known. I think this one's kind of obvious. Fritz Lang was involved with it, and the wraparound story annoys the hell out of me. This idea that it's all the story of a madman telling this story, and they're all different variations of people. It's like the Wizard of Oz of madness, and it's a well-made film, but it's a bit predictable. And I think even though it's short run time, it's still a bit, long. I think this is something that could have been like a part of an anthology film and it worked better. This one, I just think the design takes a long way, but the design doesn't really deliver much of a narrative. So I just think it's one of those films that's like, it's influential, but as a film, it's quite, overrated and just long. And everyone just says, oh, it's the design. It's so wonderful. The design is amazing. It's like, yeah, but it's kind of very theatrical and it is original, but it's taken from the modern art of that time. But it's not quite. The script doesn't live up to the design. And the script doesn't find interesting things for the design to do. It's just basically a monster movie where a monster kidnaps a woman. It's just not really anything unique, and it doesn't really satisfy in the look at psychological trauma thing. Let's try to suggest that it's just a really fun production design. It's just that the epitome of style over substance that we're going to get for decades. And I think this is like a film that Alfred Hitchcock would find sophisticated when you see his films later where they're over-designed and maybe the narrative doesn't really have much going. It's just like the visuals tell everything. It's like, no, they don't. You've just used the visuals to suggest more depth is actually there. And I think this was the film that kind of started that and solidified it. That's why it bugged me. It's like it's the original style of a substance film, and I think it gets way too much praise for not delivering, just been half delivering something, not quite getting there. So I didn't even buy it in 4K when it was just 4K because it was like this film just didn't do much for me. So that's my rant over.
I did, obviously, because Conrad Veidt. That's all I'll say. Conrad Veidt.
Yeah, but he's great, but he's the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, I would certainly not make an argument that it's better than Faust. But it's still, again, I don't absolutely adore it, but it's certainly a film that I have and enjoy. It's Conrad Veidt. Yeah, I mean, style over substance is obviously a common theme in cinema, and sometimes you forgive things and sometimes you don't. And obviously, you just don't forgive Dr. Caligari.
Yeah, I'm a purist
for what he did to you.
Silent cinema.
Yes. But we'll let the Bulgarian trog.
Yeah, obviously I love The Shining, but I think it's probably partly because of nostalgia as it was one of the films that got me into cinema more seriously. But I think if I watched it now for the first time, I probably wouldn't love it as much. But I certainly, again, would put it like very high on my favorites list. But if I did like a top 100 greatest films of all time list, it wouldn't be there. And I love it more for like kind of superficial reasons, like the film just makes me laugh so hard because to me it's one of the funniest films ever made. There's so much hilarious dialogue in it, and the Jack Nicholson performance is so fun. Okay, it's not horror to me; it's just a pure comedy, just like Blue Velvet is. Yeah, but I'm a weirdo, but yeah.
I would be fascinated. I would be fascinated to fast forward and you watch it in your 40s and then come back and tell us.
You see, Shining's one of those films I still find creepy. There's something in the atmosphere of that one I do find creepy as a horror film. But that's me. There's just something about it gets under my skin. But
and Dr. Caligari is a film that I like a lot, and I don't think it's overrated, but I don't know. It's actually really hard to choose between these two.
Yeah, it's a good pairing.
So I'm sticking with mine. So you both choose what one you're going to go for.
I mean, I would only go for The Shining because, again, it is often voted as the greatest horror film of all time. Again, this is more about what everybody else thinks about it.
Yeah, but Caligari's one always viewed as the great silent horror film. Really?
Is
I mean,
it?
it's
Sure,
the only.
Nosferatu's probably.
Yeah,
rated higher.
Nosferatu's the only competition it's really got. It's really the most influential film ever. And it's the same way The Shining's got the Exorcist side as well. It's like those two kind of go back and forth.
I mean, I would certainly say The Shining is better than The Exorcist because, obviously, as I said, I would have The Exorcist on the list, but I don't own it, and I probably won't because it's not that good. But it's a tough one.
Obviously, we all know that Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me is the best horror film of all time.
Scenes from a Marriage, I think you'll find. I think Voltrog is going to have to cast a vote.
Yep.
Yeah, I love The Shining too much, so I have to go with Dr. Caligari. Yeah.
Yes. So I won one. That's good. I'm okay for losing the rest now. Right. Something Like It Hot versus 12 Angry Men. Who's Something Like It Hot?
That would be me.
All right.
Do you want to do 12 Angry Men first?
Yeah, actually, this is one of those things I agree with both of them. That's a real problem. 12 Angry Men is a good film. It's an enjoyable film. I really enjoy it. My main problem with it is I think it's a good film, not a great film. That's the main thing. I think it's really well directed. It's really well acted. I don't think it's brilliantly written. I think the whole idea of them getting saying the guy might be innocent and stuff like that, and the conversation's a bit stagey because it's a play, and it's a bit pat. Really, is my main point. It's a bit pat. It's like it just feels like it makes its point. It keeps on going, and its theatrics are brilliant, and it keeps you interested. But I'm not sure it's making an actual valid point with the system, really, because it's more complicated than that suggests. So I mean, I think it's just a really good film, not a great film. And I think it's always thought of as a great film, and it's overrated because I think it's quality, because how well it's directed, how well it's acted, actually jump up and push it forward to being something it's really not. Because if you look at the remakes of it and things like that, they're not as well done because it was just the chemistry of the people involved in that film. So I think it's just a film with a flaw, which is the flaw is its writing is not quite as good as the rest of it. But it is good, it's just a bit predictable. So that's my main argument. So I'm not bashing anybody who loves that film. It's just like I think the writing at the end's a bit pat. So I think it's a good film, not a great film.
That's fine. You're wrong, but never mind.
Yeah.
Some Like It Hot. Again,
If I could slap you through this screen, I would.
It's only a very thin bar that way. Yeah, Some Like It Hot, very much like The Shining. This is kind of often voted as the greatest comedy of all time, which for me, it's not. I'm a huge Billy Wilder fan, but I probably prefer about 8 or 9 films before Some Like It Hot. I think
seen Dumb and Dumber's not on that list of the greatest horror comedies ever.
It probably is. It's probably number 3 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I love Jack Lemmon as well, but he does too much. Tony Curtis does too much. I've never been sold on Marilyn Monroe. Yes, she's a great presence. It's got tonal problems. It does have a great last line. But for Billy Wilder films, I just think there's so many more films that are better. Sure, it's one of the, well, not necessarily the first cross-dressing films, but certainly one of them, the most successful one. But I just think it's Billy Wilder light, and there's just way better Billy Wilder films, way better comedies. And again, just like it's the fact it's more of its profile that lands it on the overrated list, because again, it's voted like amongst the greatest comedies ever made, and it's not anywhere near any of Lubitsch's, for example. So.
Also, I was a real War Bride. That was a really good one from the 40s.
Yeah.
I just want to bring that up so people can watch it, because it's a really good film.
Yeah. So I don't know whether it's Marilyn Monroe's presence, and obviously she is an icon, whether you think she's a good actor or not. She is an icon, and maybe that's what boosts it over the years. But looking back on it now, 70 years, something like that, I just don't think it holds up compared to his other films.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think it's okay, not great. It's not one of my favorites. It's fine if I feel like watching it, but it's not one of his I put on all the time.
Yeah, I need to rewatch Some Like It Hot, but I think it's again good, but not great. But 12 Angry Men, I love the film, but I do, in the sense, agree that it's a bit overrated, because it's one of those films that it has been talked to death, and I think we should shut up about it and start talking about some other films. It's the same with films like The Godfather, that everybody talks about them, and I just start getting sick of talking about the same films over and over again, because there are better films than 12 Angry Men, there are better films than Godfather. They are great films, very good, but can we give the spotlight to something else?
Yeah. I mean, I think certainly from a camera perspective in one location, it is stunning. You could argue the William Friedkin remake has a better cast, but it's just not the same. I do think, obviously, stuff like Henry Fonda bringing in the knife is obviously a bit ridiculous. I do enjoy the zingers, and I do think sometimes if you pretend that Henry Fonda was paid to swing it, it's a nice idea. And also, I do think, for example, if Henry Fonda wasn't there, it doesn't really focus on it, but it does skate over the issue that, if Henry Fonda wasn't there, potentially innocent people do get fried in the American system. So yes, I agree. Yeah, I agree with Voltrog in the sense that it is over talked about. But as far as technically how to deal an ensemble, in one location, I mean, it's a textbook film on how to do that.
Yeah, I'm actually willing to vote for Some Like It Hot in this one, actually, because it's like both. I mean, I think that's overrated minds, actually, in this case.
Yeah, it's difficult because I can see your point about 12 Angry Men.
Yeah. That's what I was more difficult with. It's like, I do like the film, but I just think there's one or two things that are a bit overrated in it, but it's not like I dislike it. But Some Like It Hot, I do think is kind of more annoyingly overrated.
Yeah, if it wasn't kind of rated as highly, then obviously it wouldn't be in the list. Yeah, again, it's a difficult one. Obviously, one film. I think one film we agree is better than another one, but that's not what it's about. So.
And I think Some Like It Hot at this point is quite dated as well, but 12 Angry Men is still very riveting. So I'm gonna vote for Some Like It Hot.
Yeah, I think that's unanimous. Some Like It Hot. Even the person arguing for it is. So now we're going to go for the Zone of Interest versus Daisies, which is you two. And this is the one where I love both films, so I can watch and go, okay.
I love one of them, but but I could start with the Zone of Interest. So this is a film I like. I think there are many good qualities to it, but I think it's just extremely obvious, very didactic, and very cliche as well, because it's about banality of evil, which is one of the most famous ideas of 20th century. It comes from Hannah Arendt, and they even make a kind of a reference to that at the end of the film, just to hit home the point that, it's about this. And it's kind of very condescending in a way and kind of overly calculated, but at the same time, I really love the cinematography. There are some like absolutely stunning shots here that you will always remember after you've seen the film. And the sound design is very good, but again, my problem is that it's just the ideas aren't very unique. They've been talked to death. And even though I do agree with the concept of banality of evil, and I think if you look at the world critically, you see that all over the world that people actually aren't very good. And if the state tells you to be bad, you are gonna be bad because people love to be controlled and they don't think for themselves. So I do very much agree with the themes, but I still think that, yeah, maybe we should do films about something that hasn't been talked to death and that isn't so cliche. But again, still a good film and an interesting conversation that it started. But yeah.
Again, I haven't seen it, so I can't comment. And because it's fairly recent, again, I wonder in 10 years whether anybody will talk about it. But we'll come to Daisies, and I know I'll get hammered for this. But I've only seen it once, so it's probably not an accurate judgment. But I don't know whether it was more preconceptions and because I'd heard it's so amazing. I think that
Can
might
you
have
put
been...
the thing down so we're talking? Because it just feels like you're just holding up and just like, blah, blah, blah.
No.
Yeah.
It's maybe because it's been talked up so much, and then when I kind of saw it, it was just like, is that it? There's way better Czech New Wave films than Daisies. I mean, I get it as far as its importance and it's female fronted and it does have that exuberance and joy, which not necessarily people were living under. But I just think it's overrated in the sense that there's way better Czech New Wave films to kind of plant your flag in and say this is an amazing Czech New Wave film. But as I said, it's just a first time view, and it's maybe just because I was expecting this to be great, and it's better to watch these kind of films when you know nothing about them. So that's really my only point about it.
Yeah. Well, my problem here is I adore both films. Really, that's the main problem. It's like I saw Daisies last week because I saw that Ronan put it on. I hadn't watched it yet. I thought, okay, I'm going to watch it. I thought, this is wonderful. This is just great. It's hilariously funny and it's just weird and wonderful. And it's everything I like in a film. And I think, but no, sometimes when you get these older films from like Eastern Europe, something that are so overhyped by our community. Because I had the same problem with this Golden Tea film, the time travel one.
Yeah,
I'd heard so much from everybody how amazing this film was, and I finally saw it. It was like, yeah, it's good, but I don't get it. Why you're all so? Because I never had a chance to see it fresh because I saw it last basically. But Daisies, it was like I hadn't read up at all, and I just went and watched it, and it was like, this is wonderful. And the same as Zone of Interest, I knew it was like been promoted as something great, but I just ignored it and just went, this looks interesting to me, I'm going to watch it. And I watched it and it was like, this is amazing. Yeah, the banality of evil idea has been done, but sometimes an old idea needs to be restated every so often. Not everything has to be new ideas. Sometimes you need the same thing, and I think this film did it really well. And I think it was necessary at the moment to do that. So I don't think you have to be new all the time. Sometimes an older idea can still have worth, really. So I just think it was done really incredibly well, and it was pretty creepy. And I couldn't see either of these are overrated at all, really. So that's my problem.
I love Daisies. I love the anarchist charm that it has, and important themes, and again beautiful aesthetics, and love the two female characters and everything. So I think it's such a great film and one of the best of Czech New Wave. I don't think it's the number one best either. I think Valerie and her Week of Wonders is the best one, but I like.
See, I'm weird because I'm not a huge fan of that either, or Marketa Lazarova, or the Fireman's Ball, or the Partying the Guests.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I'm just weird. I'm just weird. I found the two leads a bit annoying, to be honest.
That's the point. They're meant to be anarchy and annoying, and they're trying to be annoying. That's the fun of it.
Yeah, they succeeded.
Yep.
I'll go for Zone of Interest because it's modern.
All right, that's
How
good.
dare it?
Me having. Yeah. Right, good, because I couldn't make a decision. I was like stuck. Yeah, The Zone of Interest is one of my 2 best films of the year so far, along with Furiosa. So it's the 2 that I really loved. So
I will watch it at some point.
Yeah, it's
rather than Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah, I know it's but yeah, I mean, the Zone of Interest, there's nothing new. It's just the way it's done that really works. I think it's just something like you need to do that sometimes. I think it's like far superior to most Holocaust films. Although I still haven't the guts to watch Son of Saul yet. I keep on putting it off. Because that looks too depressing.
Zone of Interest, Jonathan Glazer.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll go to the Ridley Scott stuff now. So we've got 2 lots. We've got Goodfellas versus Alien.
I can sit back.
Right. Yes. So do you want to do Alien first and I'll do Goodfellas after?
Yeah. So I think both of these films are extremely overrated, and I was also going to pick Goodfellas, but I saw it on Nazarin's list, so I didn't have to pick it. But Alien is also, out of these films, another film that I kind of dislike, and I cannot for the life of me get why people think that this is one of the greatest films of all time. Like, the only good thing about it to me is the design of the xenomorph. I think it's very cool, very interesting.
Yeah.
But the film is just incredibly dull and dry and bland. The characters are one-dimensional. I don't give a shit about any of them, not even like Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver, even though people absolutely love her for some reason. But to me, she's just a very hollow, boring character, even though it's fun to see her in the action scenes and stuff, but that's not enough to make it one of the greatest films of all time. And again, in the first hour, basically, nothing happens, and we just follow these characters standing around in a white room. And again, when the characters are all boring, like, how is that interesting to follow? And it's really sad to me because I think this franchise has lots of potential. It has some interesting ideas, and I love the idea of going to space and doing some exploration and finding like alien species and things like that. But then you just have to do like a cliche horror film out of it and not like intellectual sci-fi. So yeah, I really just dislike this film, and I even saw it in the cinema and I thought that would help, but then I was just bored out of my mind and I was considering to leave halfway through, but I never leave the cinema before the film ends, so I suffered through it. But yeah, what makes this film one of the greatest films of all time? I just really don't get it.
That's pretty thorough. Okay, Goodfellas. Goodfellas is basically one of those films that, for one, I like Casino better than Goodfellas, even though everyone prefers Goodfellas. I like Casino more, even though it's very flawed. But Goodfellas is one of those ones that's like, it's a gangster film that people get behind because they kind of love the idea of being gangsters, and the film's not nasty enough for the gangsters. It's like, we're going to show you the life of the gangsters, but we're not going to really make you hate them. Well, you're going to hate, Joe Pesci eventually, but everyone else is going to be kind of bizarrely lovable, or they do these things, they've got a code, blah, blah, blah. So it's every cliche you've got in a gangster movie, but they don't have the guts to make the gangsters actually gangsters, make them nasty as hell, make them really people that are kind of disgusting. You can make them disgusting and show their human side, and they are a good balance, but I think the balance in this film is way out, because it's why it's the thing Tarantino did after this film, which was the lovable gangster, but let's not make it nasty. And this was the film that started that, and it kept going. It's like, we can make, it was playing around the idea of, there've been lovable gangsters before, but at least in The Godfather, you saw Michael Corleone, the rot of his soul eventually, and what it did to people. In this one, it was like, it was that thing of, it created this idea of the lovable. Well, it didn't create it. It took it to the idea of being realistic. Or the lovable gangster will make him more realistic than the comic relief. But it's kind of just. It's just not nasty enough about what they're doing. Every so often they do something like they pistol whip that guy who tries to rape his girlfriend and things. It's like, oh yeah, that guy had it coming. It's always like it's never like looking into the idea of just how hollowed out these people's lives actually are. It's always like try and keep it fast, try and keep it, fun, but not actually look into the actual horror of the situation. I think it's just very evasive, and that's why it bugs me that no one criticizes it. It's the thing about Scorsese and I think David Tarantino is they don't criticize these films for the revelations. They just say, "Oh, we love this. We want to be kiss your ass because we're cineasts, and this is wonderful to feel like we're cool," and they just dip the moral dimension of the films. So that's my reason why Goodfellas is overrated.
Yeah, it's just so incredibly overrated, and Scorsese as a director is so overrated. He like for 50 years he has made the same film again and again. Toxic males rise up. There are a couple famous actors making jokes and then they fall down. And oh, what a masterpiece! Such a mature director. Like it's just absolute bullshit. Like how people can have such low standards that this is like one of the greatest films. Like watch this back to back with Sunshine the Bailey for the Human Condition and come back to tell me that this is like a mature work of art. It's an absolute piece of shit compared to like films that are actually good. So yeah.
I mean, to be fair, watching most films next to the Human Condition isn't going to fare well. But
yeah. This is a funny thing. Is I think both of us want to actually like go for each other's films and say yes. Now there's another reason why this film's shit. Because I like the first half of Alien with the kind of alien creature, but the second half when Alien after the chest buster is really boring because I don't really care. And also I've got a one film denunciation. Planet of the Vampires. Did it before, did it better than Alien.
And The Terror from Outer Space.
Yes.
If you combine the two of them, it's Alien.
Yeah. I actually forgot Alien was one of the films because I was watching some of the extras this morning. So that's why I had it to hand. And it was like
box.
Well,
I'll take it from the perspective of, again, 30 years ago, I can't believe it's 30 years ago, but 30 years ago, again, both these films would be 5-star films for me. Obviously now they're not. They've fallen off that list, obviously the same way Scorsese has in general. Again, Alien, the production design is beautiful, but again, once it becomes Weaver by herself, it's very boring. The same way with Aliens, the same way with Predator, to be fair as well. The ensemble is better than the solo. Ridley Scott is obviously perhaps even more than Scorsese, the poster child for overrated. Goodfellas, again, used to love, can't remember the last time I saw it. Again, that might be more gangster fatigue as well. To me, De Niro's the best thing in it, and he does the least. Joe Pesci, I think people do find him still lovable despite the stuff he does. I think he's still like lovable. People love that character, even though he's obviously a psychopath. Yeah, I think as the passage of time, as we see more films, the films that we were exposed to when we were younger, where there was less films to see, obviously fall by the wayside, whereas something like 12 Angry Men still persists and we still watch that, whereas Alien and Goodfellas we don't really watch very often anymore.
Oh, by the way, hi Tony. Before we,
yes,
yeah, hello Tony. Tony actually inspired me to have a couple of my choices, so, because he's a good friend of mine. So
yeah.
I mean, I think. No, I was just going to say for my vote, I think I would actually go with Alien because Ridley Scott, again, as I said, is the poster child for overrated, so it kind of fits.
You've got another chance with Ridley Scott. There's two of them. There's one.
Well, that shows you how overrated he is.
Yeah. Well,
I think the Ridley Scott film that people should talk about is The Duelists. I think that's actually a really good film, even though it like steals a lot from Barry Lyndon and stuff, but it's very interesting and beautiful film.
He's first.
Well, I'm going for Goodfellas because I think that's the most overrated one on my list. That was my first choice instantly. What did I choose? Goodfellas, like instant. I didn't even have to pause to think of what my first one was going to be. So obviously I'm going for Goodfellas. I think that's my number one for overrated.
Yeah, I want to go with both of them, but Goodfellas I can actually still like enjoy a little bit, but Alien I don't enjoy at all, so I have to go with Alien.
All right.
It might be Ridley Scott versus Ridley Scott in the final.
So we've got La Ventura versus Blade Runner.
This one is
You'll
never guess which one's which, will you?
Yeah, but I'm leaving Trog versus Trog till last. So who's La Ventura? All right, on you go.
Now, if people who kind of have been with us for a while, Antonioni's not my favourite director in the world. Linotti is probably the best one that I've seen, along with El Grido, bizarrely, which was the first one I saw years ago. I like some of the stuff in La Ventura. I like the first like half hour or so, but for me, 143 minutes is way too long. I think there's a false profundity about Antonioni that people kind of wandering about in nice looking locations somehow is profound. And I just don't think it is. I don't think it is, regardless of how beautiful they are. I mean, for me, so far, Linotti is like leaps and bounds above La Ventura. Again, I'm not going to get rid of it. It's still a good film, but I just don't see why it's so rated highly. Again, that's probably just me because I'm a little bit odd, as we all know. Yeah, because again, it's voted pretty highly in these lists, and I think there's just better films out there. And again, 143 minutes is way too long. I know Antonioni isn't kind of the strictest script director in the world.
What, really?
Yeah. So apparently he's just happy to have people wandering about looking beautiful and somehow being profound, and I just don't get it personally.
Yeah. Well, I love Antonioni stuff. My favorite's Red Desert, so it's like
I've got that one to watch. I've still got that one to watch.
That's great. But so it seems my comments are trying to make my argument for me, so I'll put it up so I don't have to say anything. Yeah, that kind of pretty much sums it up.
Oh well, on to the voting.
Yeah, no, Blade Runner is one of those annoying films for me in the sense of I actually was of the generation who saw it early, came out in video after it was bombed and said, this is better than people are saying it is, because at that point it was pretty brutalized. But I liked it, but didn't love it. But I thought, it's better than that. It's a minor sci-fi film with some good points, but it's not amazing. It's not as good as the book is based on. The book's based on funny as hell and really moving, and the film isn't. The film has no sense of humor. But then it became the cult. It became this cult of what comment says now. I will just bring this up just to bias everybody a little bit. So Trog, just ignore them. I'm not trying to influence you, honest. But it's very vacuous. They do wander around a lot and have some false characters. A stupid detective, and there's whole sequences that could have been cut down. This is like a 2-hour film that should have been an hour and a half for narrative. But it's like, it looks beautiful. Yeah, but a lot of the actual action is incoherent and really fairly brutal for the sake of being brutal. And really, I mean, how can you actually mess up with Rutger Hauer as a villain? And then during that period from like the mid-70s to mid-80s, he was always great before he became a self-parody. It was like, he's carrying the film. This is one actor carrying the film. Harrison Ford has nothing to do and looks depressed for most of the film. The whole idea of him being a replicant is a fun idea, and it's nice little touch, but it's ultimately it's just a sci-fi idea. It's not really leading into the film in a way that's interesting. It's just there. Just like everything else, everything's just there. And the camera just floats around and hope you'll add something yourself to justify its existence. And this film is just... it's vacuous. It's just... it doesn't engage in its own ideas. And I'd much rather watch the 2049 one, the Villeneuve one. I think it's a much better film because it's more engaged by the world and its ideas and the human beings, and I'd much rather watch that film. Blade Runner just feels like there's so many times you're thinking, oh, just get on with it, will you? I mean, that ending goes on forever. It's meant to be the chase sequence, and he just wanders around this bloody abandoned building, and he's terrible shot, and he gets beaten up by these replicants, and it's like... this is I mean, before this I'm actually bored watching the ending. Even when I was actually been nice at the film before, the ending was always a big thing of like, that ending was pretty boring. I mean, the best stuff's the first hour, and then it kind of, and even that's kind of vacuous. So it's very overrated to me. It's not a terrible film, but it's very kind of like, a lot of the good stuff came from the book, and they didn't understand a lot of it. So that's me with Blade Runner.
Sounds like a terrible film. The way you're talking about it.
I know. I don't like to get off my chest with Blade Runner. It's one of my bugbears. It annoys me though when people talk about it as a masterpiece, and it's like, that's no sci-fi masterpiece. What's the matter with you?
Well, obviously, he had about 10 goes to get it right. Yeah, I mean, it's a film that I've always loved since I first saw it. But again, Harrison Ford is kind of arguably the most ineffectual protagonist in cinema history. Almost beats Tom Berenger's Cop and Someone to Watch Over Me, who just screws everything up. Harrison Ford, you could argue, doesn't actually need to be in the film because he's just like so ineffectual. Edward James Olmos could have been the protagonist. But again, it's style over substance, which is Ridley Scott is famous for. And again, if that is his masterpiece, again, it took him like 3 different attempts to actually finish it properly. So that kind of shows you what Ridley Scott is. Still, I would watch it before I watch L'Aventura.
Only took him twice for Legend. Yeah, only took him twice to get Legend right. Yeah.
So, again, he is. We talk about Scorsese, we talk about Tarantino, but Ridley Scott is the king of overrated. I would agree it's overrated, by the way.
So for me, it actually took 3 tries to finally finish Blade Runner, because as a kid, my father tried to show it to me, but I didn't like it. Then as a teenager, I tried to watch it by myself, but I found it boring. But then I was like 19 or 20, and I finally watched it all the way through and liked it quite a lot, but I definitely think it's a very overrated film, and it's kind of that pseudo-intellectual sci-fi for the sci-fi pro type of people against Stalker and Solaris. That's the actual intellectual sci-fi, but this is more of that pseudo-intellectual stuff that pretends to be something that it's not. But obviously, visually, it's beautiful, and I think it's a good film, maybe even a really good film, but definitely very overrated. It's not one of the greatest films of all time, but L'Aventura, on the other hand, I absolutely love, and I love Antonioni a lot, even though I can kind of see what Ronin is talking about and why he doesn't like it. I can understand that, but I think L'Aventura is a masterpiece.
I mean, I think Empire decades ago used to have a piece called Art or Arse. And films like Last Year in Marienbad and stuff like that, is it art or is it just complete pretentious twaddle? And I do think sometimes Antonioni treads that line for me at least. But you can't love everything. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're going down this one.
Yeah, I knew as soon as I picked it, there was no way it was going to win. So
yeah,
I was fighting a losing battle, but I didn't want to just have 6 English language films.
Yeah,
which would have been easier.
Yeah. So Ridley Scott wins again, or loses.
Yeah, unbeaten or beaten.
Yeah. It's like
I could have had Gladiator as well. That's incredibly overrated. So.
Yeah. Black Hawk Down. Could have been Hacksaw Ridge one.
I still haven't seen it actually. So.
No, I actually did watch it for video recently, and I just thought that there was not enough to it to actually do a video on it. It was like I just kind of gave up. I was like, okay, there's just nothing here I can really talk about. All right, so it's Trog versus Trog. I will call it Vulgarian versus Trog. How's that? So you have Funny Games versus the Seventh Seal. Take it away.
Yeah. So I guess I'll focus on Funny Games as I talked about the Seventh Seal in the beginning, but yeah, Tony likes Gladiator for all the hot gladiators, so that's the only good thing about it. So,
yeah.
But anyway, so Funny Games. This pick was actually inspired by Tony, as he wrote a review about it recently, and he always complains about Haneke to me, so it kind of rubbed on me a bit. So, but it's an incredibly condescending film. It seems like Haneke really hates his audience and doesn't. Even at the point of the film is actually like the most cliche thing ever, that we are desensitized to violence. We watch these violent films. We play violent video games, and that's gonna ruin us all. Even though I think research shows that that's not true actually. So his point is like kind of like a conservative grandmother that, oh, these young kids are ruined by watching these films, like, and he thinks that he's being profound by making a torture porn film about why society is ruined by torture porn. It's just absolutely idiotic in many ways, but I did still think it's a pretty good film when I watched it. But recently, when I've started to think about it more, due to Tony, for example, I've started to think that, yeah, it's not a very good film, and I never really get in the mood for watching Haneke films anyway. They are so didactic and condescending. Yeah. Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, you have 2 Rivette fans here, so.
Yeah. Rivette was obviously, before he became a director, I think he was a film critic, so yeah. I don't like Godard. So.
Yeah. I'm with you entirely on Funny Games. I just fucking hate that film. I just hated it when it first released. I saw it and I was like, is this it? This is what they're complaining about. This is it just was so annoying. That put me off Haneke for years because it was just so like smug, you know.
And then he had to remake it to make himself seem even more condescending. Yeah, we have to remake it for America so that the Americans will realize this very profound point that I'm making, even though like everybody is talking about that point. The whole conservative, idiotic community is talking about how violence ruins people, even though they support all the wars in real life and stuff. So they actually don't care about violence.
Yeah. On-screen violence doesn't ruin people. Real violence ruins people.
Yeah.
You know, that's the violence that really gets people, is a real life one. It's not fantasy, just something different. Yeah. Well, since I really like Seventh Seal, I don't think it's overrated. I think it's just it's like it was so hyped up. But Funny Games, people still take it seriously, which is really annoying. It's like a lot of critics still take it seriously as if it's making a point, and it's like, okay, it's a good way to show you're stupid, but it just shows you how society can take stuff seriously that's very basic. I do think it's very overrated. It's like it's given respect when it doesn't deserve anything. So,
I mean, I like Funny Games. I think Haneke does dislike his audience. I think Haneke is smug. I don't think Haneke gives a monkeys about his audience, if he even has an audience. You could include Hidden in this as well, because I watched Hidden and it was just like, was that it? But but I enjoy it. I haven't seen the American remake. I think a lot of cineasts get hurt when people say they're smarter than them. Haneke's not necessarily that smart. I think he is more. He's another one in the arse debate who thinks these films are more profound than they actually are. Yeah, but out of the two, I would definitely go for Funny Games as being overrated, though.
Yeah,
because there's also an argument that it's somehow playing with the form, and fourth wall and all that, which that's not really. It's just a gimmick. But I would certainly say it's more overrated than Seven Seal.
Yeah, the Seven Seal is actually a great film, even in my opinion, even though I think it's.
Okay, so that's us done. The 16 is now down to 8. So I think we'll just do 2 versus 2 for each one. So we tried the bigger one last time. We did 4 and 4, and I think it kind of didn't work as well, at least for me. Well, I thought it was kind of a bit too quick. So Tony says, "Rip to shreds that piece of garbage." Funny Games, yes.
Yeah, I stole all of Tony's points about it. So
yeah, but yeah, I mean, there's like so we're ready to go Shawshank Redemption versus Hacksaw Ridge to start with. I'm just going by what we haven't covered for a bit.
Again, as I haven't seen Hacksaw Ridge, I might just go with Shawshank.
Yeah, I'm going Shawshank too because that film annoys the hell out of me.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Shawshank too, as it is like ranked as the #1 film of all time by IMDb and stuff. So it's way more hyped than Hacksaw Ridge, but yeah.
Yep. So we've got Alien versus Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Alien.
Yeah, that's just quite easy, isn't
I think an American film is going to win this. I would have never thought that before.
Okay, Zone of Interest versus Some Like It Hot.
Personally, I would go Some Like It Hot just because Zone of Interest is a new film.
Yeah, I'm going Some Like It Hot as well. I just, because I love Zone of Interest. And Some Like It Hot, it's fine, but I think overrated.
Yeah, I'm fine with either. So,
all right. So this is easier than the other ones. Right. Finally, we've got Funny Games versus Blade Runner.
Funny Games.
Yeah, probably Funny Games.
Yeah, I had Funny Games as well. Even though I have my dislike of Blade Runner, I don't hate it as much as I hate Funny Games. All right. So give me a second.
But then you could say, is Funny Games actually like rated that high? Rated as highly as Blade Runner is? So which one's actually overrated as opposed to which one is more annoying?
Yeah, because we just jumped there to what one we dislike most.
Yeah. Which is actually most overrated.
Yeah, I think Blade Runner's also overrated one.
Yeah, but I think Blade Runner deserves some of the hype though. So Funny Games doesn't. I'm going
for Blade Runner actually for this one.
I might go with Blade Runner as well.
Well, I'll stick to Funny Games, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's just I'm not sure how highly Funny Games is actually rated. You never see that in kind of the top 25 films ever made.
Yeah. So I mean, it's more to do with the rating more than. So I'll go across here. So Alien I don't want to do Ridley Scott versus Ridley Scott for the semi-final, so I'll do Alien versus Some Like It Hot.
Alien.
I would still probably go Some Like It Hot.
No, I'd go Alien actually.
Yeah.
It's that kind of one that's.
I mean, I suppose to be fair, that's generally in the top 5 of the greatest horror films and science fiction films ever made. So
yeah,
can't argue really.
Yeah, Some Like It Hot. Out of the two of them, I definitely would watch Some Like It Hot over Alien, I think. And also, I don't get the overrated thing with Some Like It Hot the same way as Alien. It's like, yeah, it's okay, but why do they love it so much? I do get that feels more overrated. Like, people admit the flaws of Some Like It Hot more than would of Alien.
Yeah, I think even films like Freddy vs. Jason and Sleepwalkers are better than Aliens.
Okay, so we're going for Shawshank versus Blade Runner.
Shawshank.
Personally, I would go Shawshank because I still enjoy
Yeah.
Blade Runner for all its flaws.
Yep, I would too. So we're not going to get Ridley Scott versus Ridley Scott. Well, there was a dream. Right, so it's Alien versus Shawshank.
Alien.
So I still watch Alien every now and again for Yaphet Kotto and Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah,
Can't
I'm going
remember the last
Shawshank.
time I watched
Shawshank is the one.
so I would go
Shawshank's
with
the one
Shawshank.
that. Yeah, that seems to be the one that's just there. It's like a fungus in society.
I mean, Alien generally isn't in the top 20 greatest films ever made. Shawshank sometimes is, especially American films.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. I mean, Ridley Scott got down to the top 4 for 2 of his films. I mean, it's still an achievement.
He's still
He
a
gets the
winner.
silver. He's still a loser because these are his thought of his best films. But I think Shawshank is the kind of most, it's like it's not very good and people are just gonna love it.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Shawshank for this topic. And again, last time I won the underrated one, so I'm happy with the second place for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'd much more love to do a Ridley Scott one because can we say Ridley Scott gets the Career Achievement Award for overrated films?
Definitely.
I think that's fair.
Yeah,
he won he lost the film, but he won the career bit. Just
he gets a lifetime achievement of overrated.
Yes. So I think there's no losers here. So it's only winners.
Yeah, because I mean, as much as I bang on about Hitchcock, I enjoy every Hitchcock film that I've seen. So it's not as if I hate Hitchcock. Whereas Ridley Scott, I haven't seen a ton of his stuff, and I don't really want to.
Yeah, no, I mean it's that's the thing is like I criticize Tarantino a lot, but I still like a lot of his films. Probably more than you two do, but I can still be critical of them. But yeah, I'm critical of Hitchcock as well. I think Hitchcock can be a bit shallow, but
I mean,
no one does shallow like Ridley Scott.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody who's had such a long career as Ridley Scott, he's basically made his name off 2 films, possibly 3 if you count Gladiator, which isn't that good anyway. But he's basically made his career off 2 films.
Yeah. I have to admit, I've got a soft spot for Hannibal, even though it's not very good. But I liked the book, really.
Yeah, I would rather watch Hannibal than Aliens.
Yeah, and then I mean, the thing is, it butchered the book. The book's much darker and better, but they still do a couple of bits in the book that I kind of like in the film. But I wouldn't say it's a good film. I just have a soft spot for it.
I haven't seen this one yet, so
yeah. No, it's not. Shut up.
Of course, what we should do is actually a non-English language version of this.
Yes.
So we don't have the easy out of America.
Yeah, but it's how America is the most overrated country for films. I mean, it's like it's ignoring the whale in the room. I mean, no one does overrated like America does. I mean, we could have done a full American version, and we could have. It's like, I mean, we resisted the easy ones, and we still got Shawshank. So
well, I mean, as I said, I only picked ones that I have. If it was films that you didn't have, I mean, you could have come up with 50.
Yeah, The Departed. So
so
don't get me started on The Departed. It's just like I don't understand what people are watching. It's like, usually films that I don't get, I can kind of appreciate why people get them, but The Departed is a complete mystery of the Sphinx for me. It's just like, what are you watching?
Was the Shawshank my suggestion, or was it yours?
No, it was mine.
Yours? Yeah, I was trying to work out who. I mean, I think it's one of those ones that was like, was in everybody's mind.
Thought of it. So.
Yeah, it was everybody's mind. But yeah, it's one of those ones that was like, what did I choose again? Yeah, it was one of those ones.
I mean, I knew Daisies and L'Aventura were non-starters, but I thought I'd put them in just for...
I think because I annoyed you with Blade Runner to start with and 12 Angry Men. You had to get back at me.
You weren't as savage in 12 Angry Men as I thought you would be.
No, I don't. I've actually warmed to Sid and the Met a lot recently. Originally, he was a director I wasn't keen on, but recently I've warmed to him quite a bit. So that's why it was the writing thing more than anything. It's the thing that's always bugged me about that film is I just think there's some writing flaws. But yeah, it was because it was overrated. If it was a loathing for a film, that would not be on the list at all. Yeah. But even Superman, I was being kind of just to make a point. I knew I was going to get kicked out pretty quick, but it was like I just wanted to have a little rant about superhero films, why we take them seriously.
Yeah, talk about searching for profundity. I mean, the fact that superhero films are supposed to be profound now as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, the whole joy of them is they're stupid, they're fun, they're silly. They're like Godzilla films. Every so often you get a good one, but most of the time they're silly, and it's like, that's the joy of them. That's why you go to see them.
Yeah, when I saw Endgame in the cinema, I was the only one laughing when Iron Man dies.
Yes, that's not a surprise at all.
But you see, it's people like tears streaming down their face. It's like, what?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm a DC guy. I mean, it's like, come on, choose a tribe. You know. Meanwhile, I had to sit through Black Adam. Thanks very much, DC.
Why can't we just get along? Why have we got to be tribes?
Because DC's better. Okay, DC is... Yeah, no, but yeah, it's silly. It's really silly.
Yeah, but with DC, the thing that annoys me is that everybody obsesses about Batman and they forgot about everything else. Like, I think Batman is a bit overrated, so, like overall as a character.
I love Batman, but yeah, it's one of those ones that's like, I can see why people get annoyed with always focusing on Batman. Is like, yeah, I'm a fan of that character, but there are other characters. I mean, come on. Where's the love for Green Lantern? Really?
Yeah, what's Batman's superpower? He's a multi-billionaire.
Yep.
And if he actually wanted to do something good for the world, he would give his money away to poor people and stuff and not go beat people up in the streets.
They actually made that joke in the Flash. That's the Batman saying that because he had a truth thing on him. It was like, why don't you just give him money away instead? Like, yeah.
That's not quite as exciting as a film. So.
No. Yeah. So, but we'll have to find something to annoy people even more in the next one. And,
overrated directors.
Ridley Scott's going to win it. Come on. Maybe give him a lifetime achievement.
Or non-English language overrated directors.
Then we'll just disagree with each other and say no one would win. It's like, who's going to choose the other one? I don't want to choose either of them. You people are awful. Don't you dare say that.
Nolan and Villeneuve. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, totally came up with that term, so because we hate both of them. So.
Oh, I like Villeneuve. I like Nolan as well, actually. It's like, I don't have to think they're making the deepest films to enjoy their stuff, so it's not really, I don't have the kind of...
I mean, if you compare both of them to the rest, then they're obviously much better. I mean, they're not Brett Ratner.
Yeah. I watched Dune Part 2 last night. I really enjoyed it. It's like, I'm not, the thing is, I'm not too bored. Nothing's as good as, for mainstream entertainment this year, nothing's as good as Furiosa, so I've got my hot to die on this year. So,
but yeah, I mean, with Nolan and Villeneuve, is it Nolan and Villeneuve, or is it how Nolan and Villeneuve are viewed by people?
Yeah, I think it's more that than anything. I think it's
because
they're so overhyped in a way It's nothing to do with them. It's just they're guys making films. It's just like it's the easy option to love them. So, we can say we love them, and so we don't have to think too much. And it's like, really?
I mean, I don't think Christopher Nolan said that he's reinvented cinema or he's invented all these things. It's other people that kind of say that.
Yeah.
He's not like Tarantino.
Yeah.
Or Nicholas Winding Refn, who just claimed they're both brilliant.
Well, I think Refn's a good wind-up artist, though. I think he's has tongue in cheek. And he just likes annoying people.
Yeah, his interview with Friedkin's hilarious.
Yeah.
When he said, Drive is my masterpiece. When again, Friedkin's like, is there a doctor now?
Oh, Friedkin was a lunatic as well. Friedkin was, I mean, apparently there was a thing about behind the scenes with Friedkin was, do not give him sugar. As soon as he's a sugar high, he's impossible. Do not give him sugar at all costs. It's like, wow. That's a studio mandated thing. Never give him sugar. Yeah, I mean, some of the 70s directors were absolute lunatics when it comes to the press releases. It was like, they thought they were God. I mean, you want to hear pretension, listen to Scorsese interview in the 70s and 80s. He's gone.
Well, he's coked out of his mind most of the time.
Yeah. Apparently, one of the Schrader comments about him, why him and Scorsese didn't work together for a while after the early 80s is our egos couldn't fit into the same room. And it was like, at least I was honest.
At least now Schrader has no ego.
Yes. He just loves annoying people. He's so much a wind-up. It's great. So how can I annoy people today? I'll say this.
Yeah, I would perhaps agree with Tony as far as perhaps Villeneuve films aren't. They're a little bit staid and sterile sometimes.
Yep. But I still like their films, so it's like I'm not going into that one. But
yeah, I mean, I like some of them, but it's just the overhype. It just makes me so bitter when the society puts up mediocrity as something masterful, and then all the directors who are actually great, like Bellatar and Sion Sono or whatever, like they are the people we should talk about, but the society is just so decadent. That
John Sayles. I have to say John Sayles at some point.
David Cronenberg.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should say for Tony, I watched Dune 2 and then I watched Morbius, which is one of the trashiest films ever made. And I love how trashy it is. It's so stupid. It's so dumb that it's astonishing. It's a film that could be released for how absolutely incompetent it is. You know, I've seen it twice. It's on my repeat crappy films thing.
What was the budget for that?
It wasn't that much compared to other films, but the special effects were really terrible. You could tell they'd not that much money because some of the effects were just awful. It was great. It was like every cheap effect looked like a video game. It was like imagine the Buffy the Vampire Slayer vampires done in bad CGI, and you get an idea of how it all looked. And you know, Jared Leto taking himself seriously in a film that's utterly trashy. It was a golden triangle of utterly misguided ideas all in one film that they all came together perfectly stupid. You couldn't make this film intentionally. You had to get there by accident.
And all I'll say is John Sayles' last film cost $1 million.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, he's one of those.
Case closed.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of the big directors have just stopped making films. It's like, nah, I'm not going through that shit anymore. I mean, Coppola went crazy and made Megalopolis this year, and everyone's like trashing it because it's weird. And it's like, so it's Coppola. I expect it to be weird. If it wasn't weird, why would you care?
He just has made Jack 2.
Yeah, but it's cool. He made a weird film because he's like almost like, this is my goodbye. I'm in my 80s now. Get lost.
And it probably isn't. It probably isn't even that weird, but for normal people, like everything that's out of the box is weird. So.
Yeah,
them even like Nolan is weird.
Yeah, I know. Look at how confused all were about Tenet, and it was like, that's not confusing. That's an easy film to understand. It's not that complicated. It's like, oh, you get lost in this film. It's like, no, you don't. Maybe if you're stupid, you will, but if you're paying attention, you won't.
Trog, do you want to talk about the dream sequences in Inception?
There was a reason why I didn't pick Nolan today, because I think I've ranted about him enough.
Yes, certain directors like I mean, I only chose one Scorsese. I chose his famous one because it was overrated. But yeah, it's like I try and avoid rating about certain directors now because it's like, yeah, I'm disappointed in them. What can I do? What's the point?
I could have gone with the David Fincher film as well, like Fight Club, for example. Yeah.
I like Fight Club. I think it's quite funny, but it's I know there's certain people who are fans of it are annoying because they're such fans. It's like, come on, give me a break, will you?
And there are many people who think it's actually an endorsement of that type of behavior. So
yeah, no, it's like
people are that level of stupid. So.
Yeah, no, it's like, don't you see the taking the piss out of it? Come on, give me a break. It's a comedy, for God's sake. And yeah, it's too long. It's like, oh no, every moment's perfect. No, there's 20 minutes there that shouldn't be there. I've read the book. The book's shorter. The book gets to the point quicker. Yeah, it's like I think a lot of directors is like, can you not just cut 20 minutes of your film? Just cut it out. You don't need all of that stuff in there.
And Scorsese should cut like an hour out of many of his films.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the amazing thing with Fury. It told an epic story in 2.5 hours, right? And it's like, if this was Scorsese, that'd been 3.5 hours. And you'd be thinking, why is that hour here? You know, it's like
I was shocked by the runtime. I was expecting it to be like 90 minutes or something.
I mean, there's quite a lot in it, but it's like one of those things is where it's like, oh yeah, when you see the film, it's like, okay, they needed all that stuff to tell that story, but it could have been so much longer with a director being self-important. Requiem for a Dream, Donnie Darko. Requiem for a Dream is very overrated. It's pretty cold. I mean, Darren Aronofsky is pretty much the poster boy for overrated directors who think everything's is really pretentious. I mean, I'm not saying this as a criticism. I love stupid, pretentious movies. I had a ball with his Noah film because it's ridiculous and it's wonderfully silly. It's like, keep making those dumb, weird films, please. And The Fountain is unwatchable for how awful it is, but it's kind of bizarrely compulsive because how awful it actually is.
Yeah, just don't make them boring.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for the pretentious directors making a self-indulgent films as long as they don't get a joke. I'm good with that.
YouTube thanks you for it.
Yes. It makes our lives a lot easier if you don't get the joke. I need to watch Mother still. I've got Mother, but I haven't watched it yet. And it's like, I've heard it's really ridiculous. And I'm kind of looking forward to it, but I'm kind of putting it off because I heard it's one of the most pretentious films ever made.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
got
pretty
in the
good
back
fun.
as well.
Yes, it's like, So I think we're finished. We're just going to rant away about some other stuff, so we better stop before we get...
Yes.
We didn't even mention Rennie Harlin. So.
I know. But...
That would be underrated, surely. So.
No. I can preview something coming soon from my channel because I bought this from Amazon France because there was an offer on, and I was buying a good film, and if you spend a little bit extra, you get another film. So I got Cutfoot Island 4K.
Still haven't seen that. Bizarrely.
What?
Better. It's a masterpiece, better than Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, no. I was actually buying Cross of Iron, and pretty much it was like 20 quid. And if you got the 2 for 25 offer, you could just get an extra film. So I thought, I'll bugger this. I'm buying this. There's nothing else I wanted anyway. It just seems it's wonderful they've started to own this film in 4K. It's like it's a badge of honor.
Yeah,
Rennie Harlin has a new film in the cinema.
Yeah. Yes. So yes, Arnold has camp value, definitely. If he ever gets a sense of humor, will be a great loss. Yeah, no, but yeah, I'm doing my bit to support our Finnish community in film criticism. You know.
Forget about Aki Kaurismäki and just support Finnish.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking, how long is it going to bring up Kaurismäki? How long is it going to take him to say, wait, we have good directors? You know, maybe one day Kaurismäki will make Adventures of Fort Fairlane 2. What do you think?
Yeah, why not?
Yes. Anyway, thank you for watching this nonsense.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
And we'll see
Well,
you
that's us
again.
over. Yep. But remember, now go watch Shawshank Redemption and, you know, so you can understand our choices in life. You know.
And some Aki Kaurismäki films while you're at it.
Aye, not in the party. Get that filth out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, Goodfellas, yeah.
Yeah, Departed now available in 4K.
Yep. As is Goodfellas. I saw Goodfellas that came out in the cinema. And even else, like, I don't get it. It's like, it's fine, but... So this rant was a long time coming. So anyway, bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye.